guys, today we have an interesting tutorial and I'm going to talk about hard-coded information and why it's not a good idea to put hard-coded information in our setting as a configuration. Any sensitive information which is hard-coded can lead information disclosure or other kind of critical vulnerabilities. So imagine that you have a Django project. It can be any project, and definitely in the setting of Django you're going to implement some configuration for using different technologies. Imagine that you're trying to use reCAPTCHA. So if you want to use reCAPTCHA from the Google, you're going to get two different sensitive information or credential from Google. You have to get these two information. One of them is public key and the other one is private key. Actually, the public key is gonna be visible in the front end, in the template. So even if the user comes to your website, he can simply read the public key from the inspect element, or by doing the view page source he can read it. So public key, as you can read by the name, is public key, so it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be secret. So don't worry about the public key. But if you want to implement a reCAPTCHA from the Google, you are going to, so before everything, let me make sure this one, okay, I think my voice is good. So as I was telling you, if you want to use reCAPTCHA from the Google, you are going to get, or any other technologies which you want to use their API or use third-party application, use their API in your third-party application, you need to get their API and get some credential which they need to be secret, and there are sensitive information. We don't have to public them, we don't have to put the hard coded of those credentials in any of our template, in anything. So maybe you guys, if you want to implement reCAPTCHA, you're just going to, instead of using decouple or environment variable, you're just going to simply, example, put the value inside the double quotation, which is a worse idea, because as I was telling you, this is going to, for the security purpose, this is a worst idea which you can do it. Like, this is not a good idea, because if one day for any reason your setting configuration get public for any reason, which I'm going to explain, like how hackers can find this, or even hackers can simply sometimes simply find other different kind of vulnerabilities and abusing from those vulnerabilities to access to some uh, sensitive information from your setting. So imagine that, this is one example. Imagine that hackers are going to use or abuse from a certain vulnerability like command injection, and they're going to get access to your files, like programming files. Like, that's the example, okay? That's like 100% example. It just come to my mind. So in that moment, there's some different things you can do, but one of them is to simply try to run some different tools for information gathering, which is going to go over all of those files and look for sensitive information completely automatically. So, and they can simply abuse from those information. Imagine that you're going to put any, like, reCAPTCHA is not that sensitive. I mean, it's sensitive still, but it's not that much. Imagine that you put OpenAI API here, and then they can simply use your API, and then you're gonna lose money. So it's not a good idea to put the hard-coded information in your setting as a configuration. And how you can avoid it, and let me give you the other example which is so important. As a hacker, hackers usually, like, imagine that bug bounty hunters, right? I'm gonna write in the Google, I'm gonna search in the Google open source bug bounty programs. So some programs are open source, so bug bounty hunters simply they need to code review and simply by the code which they read, because the program is open source, try to find the vulnerability in the code. So like imagine that like any of these, like open bug bounty, we have to look like which programs. I'm gonna search like open source web GitHub because I want to give you example. Imagine that you're working open source project, for example Android open source project. It's an example. Imagine that like this is a program in the hacker one, and hackers are working in this program, and because this project is open source, so this program said like, okay, like hackers, you can simply use my open source code review and try to find the vulnerability. And simply hackers, they're going to go through each of the files and try to read the codes. I have to show you like how is it just gonna looks like actually. I'm gonna write a React framework, for example. I'm gonna open one of these random files, like I don't know, like documentation. Here we have Babel config, for example. I mean that's 3-line code, but imagine like package JSON. Okay, that's better. Imagine here, like in hackers are going to be able to read all of your codes and do code review because that's their job as a bug bounty hunter ethically. And they're gonna read your code review, and try to find the vulnerability by the code which they read. And if in your open source project you didn't use git ignore and try to ignore those sensitive information in your Django configuration, you're just going to open up the vulnerability for them. So just for a second, I'm gonna stop for now. Alright, as I was telling you, like hackers, they can simply read the code review and find the vulnerability. So if they're going to find any hard-coded information in your open source project, they can simply report that vulnerability and get money from you because they're bug bounty hunter. Or other black hat hackers, they can simply read code review your open source project, try to find a vulnerability and try to abuse from that, which is another part. So that's why that's not a good idea, and there are tons of ways which hackers can be able to read your project, like code review and find the source of your project. But some popular one are these which I told you. One of them is open source project, and the other one is abusing from other vulnerability to get access to your project, like to this part of your project, like source, like setting configuration, or this kind of like information files, like sensitive information files. So anyway, that's not a good idea to put your hardcoded information in your setting. How you can avoid it? You can use simply environment variable, and simply you can use like module environment. Actually, I have to look for it right now. Environment variable Django modules. You can search on the Google actually. So export Django setting module. Here you can simply, I mean, there are tons of ways how you can simply use it. Like even I can use ChatGPT right now to show you. Like there are tons of ways. Like here I'm gonna use ChatGPT for give me some modules examples for Django. Avoid from hard-coded info setting and environment var. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of ways which you can use it. Like one of them is using environment variable, one of them use Python decouple, like which I use. One of them is Django dash environ. Like you can use different tools. Like there are tons of tools. It depends on you. Even .env, like, and all of them, like there is not that much difference. So me in this project I use decouple, and it's so easy. You just simply need to install it, pip install decouple, and then create the file, called dot, like any name, dot environment, and this file needs to be accessible and next to the manage.py. So the manage.py can read this file. That means the setting can read this file because it has to read it, and then it has to, from that file, it has to look for this information. And then inside that, you have to put your information like that. For example, recaptcha public key equal with the value which you want. Recaptcha private key equal with the value which you want. And simply in your setting right now, you can call it. Pretty easy, like 3 line. You have to import it. You have to use your variable and try to use config, and this config gonna look for environment variable next to the manage.py, and then after that it's just gonna look for recaptcha public key as a variable and gonna get the value of that and then store it in this variable. So it's so pretty easy. So finally I was trying to explain to you why it's pretty important to use environment variable and how hackers can abuse from that, how hackers can find hard-coded information, and how you can avoid it. That's everything for today. Don't forget to follow me, subscribe me, and if you like this video, try to like it, and comment me if you have any other question. If you want me to post other videos which you like, just comment me, so I'm going to post those videos which you really like. I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm just going to waste the videos which you like to learn. That's it. Have a good night. Take care.